Hey everybody, 3KO Games here. If you are like me, you are facing tougher and tougher war opponents all over the place, getting so frustrated against some of these enemies that, like, how do I even stop this person? I just need them to not fire their special skill. If they fire their special skill, it's all over for me. So I've been thinking much more lately about my mana control game, and I thought we'd start a new series today looking at different mana control heroes and what they do and which ones I like the best. I started trying to put something together that was just every single mana control hero, and that was intimidating. So we're going to go one color at a time. You are watching in the background as I just do some farming in Underwild here. We're going to start with blue. I don't know why. I don't actually think they're the strongest color for mana control, but there are certainly some heroes to talk about. So let's jump in. We are going to first take a look at the silencers. Silencers shut down that special skill. When that silence wears off, if they are full mana, they will go ahead and just fire anyway. And there are two blue silence heroes. They're both slow speed. One of them is Chester, who was just released in the last Morlovia event. And Chester is an interesting character that damages 3 and then gives them a curse damage for like 5 turns. Once that curse damage is done, or once it is cleansed away or removed or whatever, then those 3 targets get silenced for 5 turns. That's pretty awesome. I mean, 5 turns, don't get me wrong, is forever. However, if you're really waiting for the curse turn, the curse damage to be over with, 5 turns later, they're going to get silenced. A lot of times the match is going to be already over. So I like his special, but to me, I think many times the match is just going to be over before he's useful. The other silencer here is one of the OGs in the silence game, and that is Mickey. Mickey, who also silences 5 and gives all allies a huge attack boost. He's been around forever. People are still using them, especially on their Titan teams, because he gives everybody such big increased attack, and then you just shut down that Titan so it can't fire at you, which is pretty great. I don't think he'll make my top 5 list of all the blues here, just because he's so old and the stats are where they are. Next up, let's take a look at some mana stealers. So they are shutting down the mana gain on the opponent and taking it for themselves. And there are 2 of these heroes in blue. One of them is Atlantia from the Untold Tales. And I don't think she does much very well. There's that corrosive frost and a little bit of damage, but then she does steal 28% of generated mana from all enemies over 4 turns. That's never bugged me that much. So she's not a bad hero. I think she's just got a costume too, so she might be okay. But not going to be one of my top picks. Possibly a top pick. Somebody I'm definitely considering is Gyalach, though, from the Construct family. Because Gyalach also steals mana, but he steals 38% of generated mana. And he just hits like a truck. Even though he's slightly older these days, he still just hits like a truck. Gives a fiend to 3, and that fiend, as long as it stays there, is the one that is stealing the mana. Every time I play with Gyalach, I'm like, wow, how come that the opponents haven't fired? And wow, how come he's ready to go again? And it is that mana stealing that he does. Excellent hero. Plus, with the Construct boost recently, if you try to do the same thing right back to him, you try to like shut down his special skill, he says, nope, you can't do that to me, I'm just going to fire anyway. So that's great. We also have sleepers. One sleep hero here in blue, and that is Kalen from the Garrison Guard heroes. I was not a fan of sleepers for a long time, but I think they have figured out how to make that mechanic work in the right way for a lot of heroes recently. And I think Kalen is one of those. He really does the sleep mechanic well. What he does is get himself a mega minion that's going to hit and going to cleanse, and then all enemies fall asleep. So everybody's asleep. Now, as soon as they take damage, they wake up. But hopefully, with the whole team asleep, you can be thoughtful about where that next hit goes, where you're going to swipe your tiles into, who you're going to wake up, and you can hopefully keep the most troublesome heroes asleep, and meanwhile they will keep taking damage from his mega minions, because the mega minions do not wake them up. So Kalen, interesting hero. I like that it's the whole team, and I think he's definitely a contender for my top 5 list of blue mana control heroes. We're going to go on next to mana reducers. So all of these just take away mana. Sometimes like right when you think they're about to fire, sometimes just whenever you fire their special. And this can be really, really helpful. Some of them just give a little bit of mana reduction, some of them a lot. And sometimes all you really need is just a little bit, and suddenly, like, boom, it buys you one more turn to get your heroes charged up. So let's look. We have, in very random order here, Costume Alassie, who was so strong for so long. I still think she's pretty good. She's gotten a couple buffs, so she's hitting pretty hard. She used to reduce mana of 3 by like 20%, but now it's by 10%, which is still enough to just give you an extra turn to try to charge your heroes up, which is pretty nice. Hits 3 and gives the mana generation down. So Costume Alassie, good hero. Let's go down on this list, and we'll take a look at Costume 2 for Thorn. I don't love Costume 2, but it does reduce 3 enemies' mana by 15%. That's something. If you've got Thorn, you've got Costume 2. Hopefully you've got the Toon costume as well, so you can just get the big bonus and whack the heck out of the enemy. We have here Water Pipe, who people used to just build their defenses around this guy. Water Pipe gets a minion to all. Whoever is hit by a minion gets their mana reduced by 5%, and that's all you need. And that's all you need is 5% to just keep delaying them from firing their special skills. And I think he's a great hero. He's a little bit older. Stats are a little bit older. But Water Pipe also prevents buffs and gives the target defense down against special skills. So all those things contribute to making Water Pipe a really excellent hero on your team. Not recommended, I would say, on defense, because there are too many just anti-minion heroes. I bring in the old-fashioned Zhao Tu these days if I see him on a defense, and it just totally shuts those minions down. They don't do anything. Going down a little further, here we have Olbeck, 4-star owl. Got to put him on because he does reduce mana, but he doesn't do much else. Frankly, I'm not going to waste my time talking about Olbeck too much. In the second column, we have some of the newest heroes to us. We have Fergus. Fergus is a slow speed hero, but it is worth waiting for his slow speed, because he's going to reduce the enemy with the highest mana by 70%, everybody else by 40%. Then they get a huge mega minion and all that stuff. He's an excellent hero. Hrothgar was released on Black Friday and is also really, really strong because he hits all and reduces all enemies' mana by 20%. That can come in really, really handy. So not just a hit 3, but hit all at average speed. Definitely worth it. And then we have little 3-star Dawn. Little 3-star Dawn. Hey, you can't fault her for being a 3-star because she is basically water pipe at 3-star. Every minion that she summons to herself and to nearby allies hits a random target and reduces their mana by 8%. And that can come in so handy. I've seen people use Dawn even in rush wars because why not? If we can just get her to go off and we can shut down the enemy's the enemy's special skills, she's pretty great. Definitely a good candidate for being double limit broken, so she can stand up against some 4 stars or maybe even 5-star heroes. Those are the mana reducers. Who I'm not talking about right now are the mana generation reducers. Because quite frankly, any of those heroes, there are some very good heroes in that category. But when I use one of those heroes, I don't consider them first because of, hey, they're going to reduce the mana generation. That's not the first reason that I'm going to put them on the team. But if it's an actual mana reduction, or it's a silence, or it's a sleeper, or any of these things, or a mana stealer, sometimes that's the very first thing that I'm thinking about that hero and why I'm putting them on the team. To me, mana generation down is kind of an afterthought. Feel free to disagree with me. So anyway, we're going to skip down to a couple of mindless heroes. We have 3 mindless heroes in blue. Friend Missandra, costume 1, does damage to 1, and that hit target gets mindless attack for 3 turns, which is nice, and a 42% chance to hit more. So if she keeps hitting, she's going to be great. But it seems like that 42% might as well be 4.2% sometimes. If you are using her on your offense, it just kind of doesn't want to get that extra hit in. Next up, we've got Bubbles. And Bubbles, man, I know these pet heroes are a little bit older, but I love me some Bubbles. Don't have them myself, but the shifting mindless attack is so great. I've got it in 4-star Waddles. And that shifting mindless attack hit 1, and then when they're totally filled with mana, they will just hit somebody on their team and then give that person the mindless attack. So you constantly got this rotation of people that can't fire their special skills. And that's Bubbles. He hits 1 for 80% and gives that target defense down, which is nice. So he's not going to attack and kill everybody, and not with his stats, but the shifting mindless attack, really, really worth it. Finally, in this category, we have Cabaroy from the Season of Love seasonal event. I love Cabaroy. Use him in every single Rush tournament. We just finished Rush over here, and he comes in so useful. He is slow speed, so, especially in Rush tournaments, he's very useful. But I use him outside of Rush as well, just hoping that I can get those tiles up and running, because he does so much. He hits 4. The first one you get to actually aim. So you do have some control. The next 3 you don't really have control over, which is sometimes works against you because it could actually just hit the same one over and over and over, and it's not really helping you with giving the mana control on that whole team. But more often than not, I find he spreads out pretty well in who he's hitting, and really buys me the time that I need to get my team fired up. And since it's not just an attack, but it's a heal, he's saving my team by having the opponent heal me just a little bit. It's pretty great. Let's jump in right now and talk about my favorite, my top 5 blue ice mana control heroes. I'm going to do it, friends. I'm putting Bubbles on that top 5. Bubbles is a great hero just because I love shifting mindless attack. Giving it to one and then giving it to the next person. It could last forever. It could last the rest of the battle where you just keep giving it to another person. Of course, you have to be careful about it because it could hit somebody that's going to resist it and then, whatever. But my number 5 is going to be Bubbles. Next hero that I'm going to put up here, number 4, I'm going to put Kaylin up there. Like I said, I think they finally found a hero that does the sleep mechanic pretty well in Kaylin, because you can just leave Kaylin to fire his mega minion and they'll keep taking damage, but they won't wake up. 60% HP on that mega minion, which is pretty solid. 160% attack, which is not the hugest, but it's pretty good. And it also cleansable status ailments from all allies each turn. He's going to stick around, and he's going to keep putting those enemies to sleep. That's my number 4 hero, Kaylin. Number 3, I already told you I liked him, Cabaroy. Another person whose stats are a little older, I know, but man, having 4 people get hit, and sometimes it's the same person, yes, can just save you from so much, and it shuts them down and it heals you. I just love that special skill, and especially since you can aim it at least the first time, it turns out pretty well. And he's another hero too that, like, you try to do the same thing at him, give him silence him or give him a mindless attack, and he just says nope, not for me. Passive, just gonna totally resist that. My number 3, Cabaroy. Number 2, Fergus. He's pretty new. He's slow speed, but man, what are you gonna do with 70% of your mana gone and mana generation down for 6 turns? I don't mind the mana generation down thing. I know I was just giving it a hard time, but when it comes after a mana reduction. So we just reduced your mana, and now you can't gain it back. He's going to be so troublesome to go up against, especially in Rush Wars, where 6 turns is just, it's forever, right? And that Sword Guard Mega Minion is going to be really helpful. The only thing that would make him better is like an upfront hit or something else. He is slow speed, so I can't in good consciousness give him my number 1 spot. Instead, I am saving that number 1 spot, my friends, for Hrothgar. Excellent mana control hero. Because he's new, his stats are really high, he does tons of stuff. He damages all at 310%. Man, I remember when slow speed heroes would damage for 300% to all, and that's like all they did, and everybody was like, woo, that's awesome. But this is the tip of the iceberg for this guy. With all these passives and his family bonus, it reduces the mana of all enemies by 20% and gives them mana generation down for 4 turns. At average speed, that's really helpful. And then we get that status effect generator where a random ally is going to get an attack buff and a defense buff. Come on, that's pretty great. Hrothgar, my number 1 blue mana control hero. Of course, you don't use him just for the mana control, but it is a big reason why he's so powerful. Let me know what you think down there. Did I forget about anybody? I might have. There's so many darn heroes. I tried to research this the best I could. If you would swap anybody out here or change the order, let me know what you think. I thank you for watching the video, everybody. Stay tuned. We're going to try to do this for all colors over the next couple weeks. We'll see you next time.